So, if you didn't notice, I completely removed my Civil War video because I realized that I uploaded the unedited version of that. Ah, how embarrassing. But I figured, there's a lot of people with Civil War videos out. It's not going to hurt if I delete mine. So, to make it up to you guys, I'm going to do an Alex Garland ranked, which is probably going to piss some people off and people are going to disagree with me. But that's okay, because one thing that I can say about Alex Garland is he's one of the few filmmakers today that I've sort of been rewatching his work, not necessarily on a normal basis, but I've just been checking it out. And, I think about Alex Garland often, maybe a little too much. But I'm going to basically be ranking his 5 directorial efforts. I know I could technically put Dredd on here, but I'm not going to do it. Just because we're not going to do anything that he wrote, even though apparently he did direct Dredd, allegedly. We're still figuring this out. It's pending. We don't know yet. We shall see. We're going to figure it out, but not today. So it's gonna come down to Ex Machina, Annihilation, Devs, Men, Civil War. Those are the 5 that I'm including. And a lot of people think that he's going to stop directing, which he is for a limited period of time. He actually did a video interview talking about that, how he was going to take a break, sort of focus on writing. And I wouldn't be surprised if we got another Alex Garland film. I would love to see another horror film from Alex Garland. Just because the one that we got wasn't necessarily a horror film, which we'll get into that in a second. So this is my Alex Garland ranked. And keep in mind, even the one at the very bottom, I still really enjoy. It's just, I gotta have a least favorite. And I don't put scores on anything, but I mean, if I were to put a score, a meaningful score, I put that in quotes, I would probably, I don't think there's anything lower than a 6.5 or a 7 in his filmography. He's pretty solid all around, but let's not waste any more time. So, coming in at number 5, we have Annihilation with Natalie Portman. Now, Annihilation, I enjoy Annihilation a lot because it reminds me a lot of my favorite novel, movie. Well, not my favorite movie, it's not. It's in my top 5, which is Stalker. But Roadside Picnic, which of course it's not based off Roadside Picnic, but it really does sort of take some inspiration and elements from that. I think the more that I revisit Annihilation, the first time I watched it, I was blown away. I thought it was great. And then as I've watched it further, I've gotten the 4K. And I think it's probably Alex Garland's best looking film in terms of cinematography. The cinematography in Annihilation is just wonderful. Alex Garland sort of just has this tendency to show you a normal image, but then of course he adds like this really nice colorful flair to it. I enjoy it a lot. But that's one thing that I've noticed is when it comes to Annihilation, I enjoy the cinematography and I really like the last 10 minutes of the film. Everything else is kind of just style, no substance to an extent. Of course, I could rewatch it again and be completely fucking wrong and just lied to all of you. But that's sort of how I feel about Annihilation right now, because I did watch this. I actually watched it on New Year's Eve. We went into the new year watching it, and when I was sitting down, I was just like, this doesn't necessarily connect with me like it used to. And that's sort of how I watched Fight Club again last night from David Fincher, and I sort of felt the same way about that. Oh my gosh. It's sad times that we live in. But no, Annihilation is actually up there on a lot of people's lists, and I think this is just my own personal preference, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. It's still better than half the movies that come out these days. Coming in at number 4 is Alex Garland's miniseries called Devs on FX, Hulu, and a lot of people probably have not seen this that are fans of Alex Garland, and I know it is a miniseries and it's not a film, but the way that I look at it is, yeah, I get it if you're a showrunner for a TV show when you've only written and directed a few episodes, we won't throw those in there, but the thing is, Alex Garland wrote and directed every episode of Devs. Like, that is his baby. It is a Alex Garland story, film, directorial effort, writing effort through and through. And Devs was up there at like number 2 or 1 for me, like 4 months ago. Again, I'm telling you, this list changes all the time. But the first episode of Devs is probably Alex Garland at his best. It adds this nice mystery, and you sort of, it reminds me, I don't want to spoil anything, but the first episode of this film, or this miniseries, is the only thing the only thing to remind me of Psycho in a very long time, and if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It does a great job of subverting your expectations, and the rest of Devs, throughout the middle, it kind of goes down a little bit, but then it really picks back up towards the end. And it's very tame, and Nick Offerman is great in Devs. I love Alex Garland and Nick Offerman's relationship when it comes to his filmography. But Devs is definitely worth the watch. I would definitely recommend checking out Devs. It's really good. I feel like it's very underappreciated, and a lot of people probably haven't seen it. But it's good, and it stands up there with the rest of Alex Garland's filmography. Coming in at number 3, this is probably going to be number 1 for a lot of people, but I'm going with Ex Machina. Now, the first time that I watched it, I was a big fan, and I still like the film, don't get me wrong. It's a very beautiful film. It's very tame. It's very simple. It is a very, very simple film. Very simple. And Oscar Isaacs is very good, but he's also great in Annihilation, but his role is a lot smaller. But in Ex Machina, it's very front and center. And it is this very tame, small, you've got like 3 characters in this compound or this place. And it's a good science fiction film. It's probably one of the better science fiction films to come out in the last 20 years. But again, it's one of those films I feel like when you first watch it, it's like mind-blowing. And then as you keep rewatching it, it kind of goes down. And that's where Alex Garland's filmography, like, it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing, because it's like, okay, well, the more I rewatch Alex Garland's films, my opinion seems to change a lot more, but it's a good thing because I love rewatching his films. He's one of the few directors out there that I really feel like he's extremely relevant, and I like rewatching his stuff and reevaluating it. And I like it. I like it a lot. I have the 4K. It's a beautiful film. Yeah. And coming in at number 2, do not hate me for this. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this. A lot of people are going to fucking disagree. We're going with Men. I love Men. Somebody just cuts that part of the video and I love Men. I really do. Jesse Buckley is great. Roy Kinnear, he is very fantastic in it because he plays a bunch of different characters at once. And it's another one of the, that's one thing that I like about Alex Garland, is he takes these small set pieces and he does a lot with them. Like, it's very tame. Like, if you look at Ex Machina and Men, they're very tame films. They're very small scale. And I know a lot of people didn't like Men whenever it came out. When I first watched it, I liked it because I think a lot of people, when he promoted this film, when A24 was promoting it, it was very much so a horror film. Like, it was being promoted as a straight up horror film. And I kind of knew going into it, especially with it being Alex Garland, that it wasn't going to be straight up horror. I figured it was going to be twisty. I figured it was going to be definitely creepier than his other works. But I figured it was going to be pretty metaphorical, and it definitely was. And that's why I wasn't upset about it, because I knew what I was getting myself into. Men actually was around number 4 on my list for a while. And then I revisited it and I started thinking about it, and I really like it. It checks every box that I'm looking for with Alex Garland. And I feel like Alex Garland fans will appreciate Men more than, just your casual movie-going audience. Just because Men is a pretty inaccessible film for your casual movie-going audience. But it's still a really good film. I like it a lot. And I'm glad he got a chance to make it. I'm very surprised he got to make this next film after making Men. But yeah, Men is very good. It makes me want to see a straight-up horror film from Alex Garland. And yeah. And coming in at number 1, we have his newest film, Civil War. I feel comfortable saying this. This is not a honeymoon stage choice, because I've seen this film twice. I watched it twice in the same day. Kristen Dunst, Wagner Moura, Kaylee Spaney, Nick Offerman. There's even a small role with Jesse Plemons. It is just... Civil War is not what you think it is, because it's definitely more small scale than what the trailer makes it out to be. That's what I've noticed a lot of Alex Garland films are. The trailers are usually pretty bombastic, and then when you actually watch it, you're like, wow, this was a lot smaller scale than I thought. But Civil War is basically a road movie, and it kind of reminds me of Ingmar Bergman's Shane, where you don't really know what's going on in the film. Like, you don't know why this started. You just know that there's sides, they're fighting, and then boom, and you're watching these characters. It's very much so a character film, a character, I wouldn't say necessarily character study, but there's different set pieces in Civil War where you're not watching just a bunch of battle sequences. You're literally going from location to location to location to location. I've seen some people compare it to Come and See. I've seen some people compare it to Apocalypse Now. There's one scene that I could definitely sort of see the Come and See comparison, but I think I would feel more comfortable comparing it to Apocalypse Now on a smaller scale, just because it sort of does do the same thing that Apocalypse Now does. But Civil War, I feel like if it was any longer, it probably wouldn't have worked for me as much as it did. It would still probably be in my top 3 Garland, but it's an hour and 40 something minutes. The performances are great. The pacing is very well executed. Cinematography is great. It subverted my expectations. It's interesting, and I think it's Alex Garland at his best. I do think, while Civil War isn't necessarily a perfect film, I think right now it's as perfect as you could possibly get for Alex Garland. I feel like it just checks all the boxes, and that's why I want him to make another film, because I feel like if he goes back to writing and he sort of realizes like how great of a director he is, which he probably knows he is, but you get what I'm saying. I would love to see another directorial effort from him. I know he's going to be co-directing a film called Warfare, but we'll see more about that. But that is my ranking for Alex Garland's films. I enjoyed making this video a lot. I've been wanting to do another ranked. You probably hear my son screaming, so I'm going to probably have to stop this video. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, leave a thumbs up, maybe subscribe. If you guys want to check out my Pesadilla teaser trailer, definitely check it out down in the description below. Also, I have a new short film titled The Interview, or Percival and Lewis Talk About Employment. If I hit 1,000 views on that, I will do something special. So you can definitely check out the link down there as well. But anyway, guys, take it easy, and I'll see you guys next time.